hear something. I hear something. I hear something. I hear something. Ah! What is that? What the is that? What?
In today's video, we are going to explore the world of the unseen, with a chilling account of witnesses that start not with sightings in the forest, but with a home invasion in the most unexpected place, a wooden cabin. As we unfold this eerie case, we'll walk through 7 separate pieces of video evidence, each offering a clue to the presence of something primal and predatory out there. From mysterious knocks to massive silhouettes just beyond the firelight, we invite you to look closer and decide, has Bigfoot officially stepped out of the woods and into our world? It is the summer of 1972 in the distant Wind River Mountains of Wyoming, a place where silence hangs like mist and loneliness isn't a concept, it's reality. Naturalist John Masinski was living alone deep in these woods, working on a wildlife study for the U.S. Forest Service. He expected deers, mountain lions, and unpredictable weather. What he didn't expect was something, or someone, pressing against the thin nylon wall of his tent in the dead of night.
Approached by something that cast a shadow. The moon was just coming up, was almost a full moon. I clearly saw a hand with 4 fingers and an opposed thumb, like a human hand, and it was large. It was twice the size of my hand. It was getting aggressive with its movements on the side of the tent. I hit it with the back of my hand.
Masinski recalls the moment he felt his tent being disturbed. At first, he thought it was a curious bear, but the full moon revealed something that made his blood run cold. A massive hand. It had 4 fingers and an opposable thumb, which was very human, yet at least double the size of his own. As it moved angrily along the tent wall, he jumped back in panic. The creature fled into the trees, leaving him stunned and shaken, struggling to explain what he'd seen. Still trying to make sense of the encounter, John reported the incident to his superiors. To his surprise, he wasn't alone. Many similar reports had emerged across the region.
I eventually interviewed about 25 people. The most interesting one was a young man in a little cabin up against the mountains. He had reported seeing one of these behaving aggressively in front of his cabin.
John shares the most disturbing account he came across of a young man living in an isolated cabin who had claimed to shoot a creature matching the same description. It fell, but moments later it stood up and ran into the wilderness, wounded, but very much alive. John was sent to investigate and collect evidence. What he found shocked even the scientists. At the cabin, he discovered a clump of coarse hair stuck to the building's siding, and unlike anything local wildlife should have. He submitted the sample to a well-known forensic anthropologist, Walter Burby, who, after analysis, gave an eerie conclusion. The hair came from a primate. But there are no primates in Wyoming.
A few days later, and Walter Burby said, and this is a quote, "This is my first stumper. These hairs are primate," and he was certain about that. The result was controversial because the hairy primate is not of an animal native to Wyoming. That kind of suggested the idea of Bigfoot.
The confirmation was both a new exploration and dangerous. Rather than sparking interest, it triggered suppression. John recalls being warned by his department head to never associate his name with the word Bigfoot again because of the threat of being fired. This encounter, the shadow, the hand, the hairs, may not give the clearest image of a Sasquatch, but it does show us a chilling picture. Something huge, intelligent, and possibly a primate lives or lurks in the American wilderness. And it's not just watching us. Sometimes it walks right up to the door. There are places so full of mystery that even the locals warn you to stay away. Yamsay Mountain in Oregon is one of those places, a sacred site to the Klamath people, spoken of with high regard and caution. The mountain is said to be home to Montagne, the keeper of the woods, and the stories around it suggest something powerful, historical, and deeply territorial living there.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming here.
Tribal Council is in agreement that you're here. And this has never happened before. This is a really historical event. Bigfoot, Matakagmi, is the keeper of the woods. And so he makes sure that when you're out there and you're doing things, that you're doing them in a good way.
At this time, I'd like to say a blessing and prayer and welcome you to the homeland of the Klamath, the Modoc, the Yukon people, and you're welcome to move about our land and do what you do.
In this segment, a team of investigators, equipped with the rare blessing of the Tribal Council, explores into this forbidden forest to search for signs of Bigfoot. What they come across, however, is far more creepy than just rustling in the trees.
Mountain is a very special place for the Klamath tribe. They see unusual things happen here. Tribal members are even warned against coming to this area. Well, in my experience, it's areas like this with histories of unusual activity, that's where the Bigfoots tend to hide.
The episode opens with a blessing from a tribal elder, emphasizing the spiritual importance of the mountain and the seriousness of the investigation. Locals of the area share chilling stories. Tall figures looking from behind trees, howls that silence the woods, and one similarity, Yamsay. The mountain isn't just feared.
One name came up over and over again at town hall meeting, and that is Yamsay Mountain. It's a sacred mountain on the reservation where no one goes. You're not supposed to go there because weird things happen there. Well, we're all about the weird, and we are here to Bigfoot. So before we speak to any witnesses at all, we are going to go Bigfooting tonight at Yamsay Mountain to see what we can discover.
It's avoided as much as possible. As the team splits up, Bobo and Rane take over the darkened woods, calling out and knocking on trees to get something going. Then something weird happens.
There's something in there shining, glowing. It's not on the cern. I mean, I don't know what it is.
I see it? Yeah, I definitely see it. It could be a headlamp.
That's not a light.
What is that?
Bobo spots a glowing light which is hovering, moving. Not a flashlight, not an animal's eye shine, but a pale, orb-like glow. It drifts silently through the trees, untethered to anything physical. They radio the rest of the crew, who confirm they're too far south to explain the sighting. The orbs begin to float, not just glow, shifting up and down, not being caught on camera. Bobo and Ranai move forward, expecting to find a person or an explanation. But there are no footprints, just sand and soil imprinted with the tracks of deer, elk, and nothing else. No one else was there.
Yeah, did you guys move north? We are seeing lights in the woods.
No, we are south of you still.
We saw two, and they appear to be moving up and down, kind of low to the ground.
Well, I'd say go find out what it is, because it definitely is not us.
Copy you. Okay, we gotta go over there, man.
Whether it was something paranormal or something more primal, the lights stand unexplained. Some believe they're spirits. Others whisper about a connection between orbs and Sasquatch, but both elusive, both vanishing before science can catch up.
Okay, so if I'm standing at the right location...
Can you now see me on the turn?
You are plainly visible. Oh yeah, I can definitely tell you're an upright, hot figure.
Aw, thanks, Bobs.
I can tell you this, whatever we saw was not a person with a headlamp. It wasn't a car. It was much closer than we thought and smaller and not very bright.
That just creeps me out.
The team, clearly distraught, leaves with no definitive answers, only questions. Did the orbs mark sacred ground? Were they just watching or giving warnings? What's certain is this. In places like Yamsay Mountain, the forest doesn't always hide what you think it does. Sometimes it shows you just enough to remind you that you're not alone. Tucked away deep in the snow-capped Dry Fork wilderness, an exploration team returns to Red Cloud 6 weeks after discovering what might be one of the most interesting pieces of Bigfoot evidence in recent years. It wasn't just the quiet isolation or the eerie stillness of the mountains that brought them back. It was what the snow had tried to keep hidden.
Folks, this is where 6 weeks ago we found
there was a bunch of snow right here. There was actually 3 feet of snow that went over this little campfire with trash in it. We couldn't even see that there was a campfire here. It was about 3 feet of snow. It's melted back to this much now, but there was a bipedal trackway through the middle of it, and on either side of the trackway was
On their previous visit, they came upon a campfire covered in nearly 3 feet of snow. But what caught their attention were a set of large bipedal tracks imprinted through the snow. Even more chilling, on either side of the trackway were deep bedding impressions, suggesting something huge had laid there. Now, as the snow melts away,
They're old.
way old.
But they're big.
Yeah.
Look at this one. I mean, compared to my foot. And it stepped up here.
Went right through here, and I tried seeing if I could actually find.
they've returned to retrieve game cameras and follow any remaining clues. As they comb through the partially thawed ground, one of the team members spots what seems to be more impressions, melted but enormous and abnormally deep.
It'd be nice if it stepped in some mud like this.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It would make such a great
I went
impression.
all the way up and around this up here looking. It definitely sounded pretty big, actually.
Walked right through.
Look at those.
Measuring the stride from footprint to footprint suggests something astonishing. A 6-foot step, straight through the slush and snow. "That's not elk," one of them mutters, noting the bipedal pattern. Then they see it, what looks like the spot where the creature laid down again, right in the snow.
Yeah, where does it start? Where does it end?
Where does it start? Where does it end? I mean, if you go center to center, you're
Center to center
6 foot.
is close to 6 foot,
6
69 inches.
center to center. And it's something laid down over there. Let's go check that
Yeah.
out. I'd really.
Let's do it.
And I'm up to my knee. I'm up to my knee, and it's got a 6-foot stride.
And that's when they find the hair. Long hair strands, reddish-brown and multicolored, scattered across where the creature was lying, some even embedded deep in the snow. One sample appears unlike anything they have seen before, different in texture and color, distinctly hair, not fur. Then comes the final chilling detail: blood, faint but unmistakable, in the snow beside the hair.
There's blood right in the snow by this hair.
Yeah, there is.
Look how long those strands are.
Yeah,
I mean,
where's
that's not fur.
Where's that bag?
I mean, look, it's deep in the snow. Something, you know, you would have to have a very warm.
All over around the edges.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my!
It's everywhere.
Look at all this hair inside where something lay down in the snow. You know, you have to have a pretty warm coat.
The team, experienced in wildlife tracking, knows what elk hair looks like. They've seen bears, mountain lions, bobcats, but this was something else. A few chuckle nervously, joking about the hair, but the atmosphere is charged with tension, because as they gather hair samples into a baggie, there's no longer a question of whether something was there.
They get it from inside the shaft, inside the medulla. So even though we touched it with human hands, they can still cleanse the hair of our DNA before they break it open.
Uncut hair, so it's got a natural end.
The real question becomes, what? It's the perfect stack of physical evidence, tracks, lying area, hair, blood, all discovered in a known Bigfoot hotspot. And yet, there's a strange awareness that even with these findings, the world may never fully trust what they saw. But the cameras are still rolling, the snow is still melting, and whatever passed through Red Cloud just might still be watching. There's a different kind of fear when you're alone in the wilderness, no crew, no backup, just your raw instincts and a growing sense that something is watching. This video doesn't feature dramatic screams or shaky night vision shots. Instead, it's something beyond that. The slow-building dread of a lone investigator navigating a forest known for Sasquatch activity, armed with little more than a camera, his voice, and local legends.
Okay guys, I'm getting out of here. I feel silly losing my nerve so quickly, but I heard a grunt, a deep, loud grunt in the forest over there a couple minutes ago, and then the sound of a tree twisting, like the wood fibers breaking. I'm not making this up, I'm serious. I heard those two things. It's a calm night. It wasn't just the wind twisting the tree. There's something out there.
As the man steps into the woods just beyond his cottage, everything seems calm, a little too calm. The forest is dense, wet, and silent, but as he moves through a ditch into the tree line, he suddenly stops. A low grunt rumbles through the air, deep and unnatural, followed by the sharp, clear sound of a tree twisting and cracking. He spins around on his heel, his nerves instantly on edge. Even though he sounds embarrassed to have lost his calm so fast, you can hear the uncertainty in his voice. He knew what he heard, and it wasn't the wind. "There's something out there," he whispers, retreating. And just like that, the investigation becomes something else entirely. The deeper he pushes, the more the forest seems to close in. He finds two large trees snapped in half, healthy trees with no sign of rot, not fallen by nature, but broken, twisted. And nearby, a suspicious trail moves around through the brush, wide and seems like freshly worn. In the dirt, an impression, deep, fresh, perhaps a print? He can't be sure, but everything feels wrong. Still, he pushes forward.
And the terrain isn't getting any easier. I think the path is more or less petered out. This is well beyond where people usually go, I think, at least at this time of year when the river's so high. So I'm going to try to make it a bit further, but I thought I might as well attempt to imitate a Sasquatch howl here first.
Now miles from any trail and nearly waist-deep in river water, he stops to do something bold. He attempts an Ohio-style Sasquatch howl. It's clumsy, unsure, but immediately afterward, something shifts in the air. Above the roar of the water, a huge bird flies into the sky, startling him. He's spooked, but more than that, he's being surrounded. The terrain now seems to actively sabotage him. He slips, nearly tumbles into the river. Then comes a sound. Faint, high above him. A bird call, only something different. Not any bird he knows. Something's up there, watching from the bluff. He doesn't know it yet, but this won't be the last time he hears it. He climbs higher, struggling through mud and deadfall, trying to get over the feeling of presence. The elder he spoke with earlier mentioned this hill specifically, said it was a place of activity. And now the calls come again. This time quiet, strange, animal-like, but not quite real. He finally says what he has been thinking, that he seems he is being watched. He seems breathless, staring up at the dark ridgeline. There's no proof, just instinct. But sometimes, instinct can be all you need.
Right up there, something moving in that little opening in the trees. It just like filled the gap for a moment.
As twilight settles and a cold mist rises off the river, he sees it, a slight flicker of black, a movement between the trees just above the bluff. It's gone in a second. He curses softly as his camera wasn't rolling. And even if it had been, would it have caught anything? It's the moment every cryptid hunter knows all too well, the split-second flash that haunts you more than any footage ever could. As it was just a flash movement, nothing definitive. But then he hears it, a loud thud in the far distance. Not a gunshot, not a branch, a thump, like something huge fell, or maybe landed. There's no wind, no people, no machinery for miles, just that sound. One, heavy, deliberate. As he begins the long trek back in the dark, soaking wet and exhausted, he can't shake the feeling. "I should be looking back," he mutters. And so he does, time and time again. The rational part of his brain tells him there's nothing there, but instinct doesn't care. Because somewhere, just beyond the trees, something could still be watching. What begins as a slow expedition into the Appalachian wild quickly turns into one of the most intense encounters of Mosargi's Bigfoot investigations. With nothing but a handheld camera and the legends of a hidden outpost to guide them, the crew hikes deep into an abandoned mountain track. But it's not just fear of the unknown that spreads, but it's the growing realization that something huge might already be watching them.
Look what I'm seeing here, boots. There's 2 pairs of boots right here. Oh my God. So that story is actually true. Look at this.
Halfway through their hike, they uncover something straight out of a horror movie. 2 pairs of boots, abandoned in the brush near a washed-out trail. Mo recalls a scary story about a man named Chris who reportedly had such a distraught encounter with Bigfoot. He literally ran out of his shoes. Now, staring at those boots seeming exactly similar, left untouched and sun-bleached, the story feels quite real. "Hey Chris, if you're looking for your boots, they're right here," Mo jokes nervously. But underneath the humor, you can sense the shift. The atmosphere thickens with tension. If someone really ran from something here, it means they might not be alone. They go deeper into the woods. The trees close in around them, and the signs become harder to ignore, like branches bent, trails blocked by huge fallen trunks. The forest suddenly too quiet, and then they find the prints.
Look how big those toes are. What?
He was like running or something.
What?
It looked like going this way.
Yeah, like it turned off the sand.
Yeah.
What?
Mo freezes. Imprinted in the soft earth are colossal footprints, far wider than any human's, with 5 distinct toes and a step that defies logic. "Oh my God, my shoe and Bigfoot's shoe," he mutters in disbelief, holding his boot up for comparison. The steps seem to move right out of the forest, then disappear, as if whatever made them just vanished. The group tries to make sense of it. It must have jumped, one argues, but the span is too wide, the path too uneven.
And it just goes down there because there's no prints here.
Yeah, it just stops right here. Yeah, I mean, one pass.
The simple size and depth of the prints leave no doubt that something very heavy and very fast passed through here. But where did it go? The clues lead them to what locals call the outpost, an isolated cabin deep in the forest once used by Bigfoot researchers. But the house is quiet, covered in moss, and swallowed by time. Still, the crew explores nearby, finding what appears to be shelters just to spend the night, and even cave-like rock formations that could potentially dens. They didn't realize it yet, but something was following.
I hear something. I hear something. I hear something. I hear something.
What the that? What the that? What?
Night creeps in. They return to their own cabin, 30 minutes from the outpost, expecting the horror to have been left behind. It isn't. A blood-curdling scream rips through the mountain darkness, then crashing. Footsteps, and on night vision, a tall, lanky figure sprints past their window. The team erupts, shouting, looking for cameras. Mo's voice cracks with disbelief as he questions what that is. The thing circles the house. The power surges and dies. Lights go off. One suggests that whatever it was must have followed them. There's no time to process. Something massive is moving just outside, and it knows they're inside. When they finally review the footage, the image clears any doubt. A figure, tall, hunched, covered in thick, dark hair, sprints across the frame. It's not a bear, not a man, definitely not a costume. Something real. Mo stares at the screen, declaring what they all know, that for sure was Bigfoot, and it was not supposed to follow them. And that's the most creepy part, because whatever they tracked in the forest didn't just watch them, it joined them at home. Deep in the haunted forests near Mahone Bay, a group of friends dives into a place known only because of whispers and warnings where stories of strange sounds, shadowy figures, and unsettling encounters blend myth with something far more real. Their goal? A remote, decaying cabin, long rumored to be a hotspot for Bigfoot activity.
Oh, bro!
What?
Look at the cabin!
What's up with the cabin?
Bro, there's an X at the cabin.
What the fuck?
Bigfoots are known to make X's, apparently.
The tension begins almost immediately. As they close in on the abandoned cabin, marked ominously with an X, one of them hears what sounds like a woman's laugh echoing through the trees, faint, creepy, and out of place.
Yo, that wouldn't have been a human, would it?
I don't think so.
There's no way.
The forest feels heavy and charged with energy. Then it changes. A low, guttural growl replaces the laughter, sending the group into a silent panic. "That has to be a Sasquatch," one whispers. It's not just nerves. They've heard stories from locals about this very place. This seems like an affirmation to all the stories. The hike up is stressful. The ground is rough, steep, and overgrown. They cross what used to be a bridge, but only now it looks like something, or someone, rebuilt it using massive logs. They suggest that it does not look like the work of a human staring at the strange structure. But it's when they reach the cabin that everything shifts.
What happened?
I don't know, something like big moved in the bush.
Something big?
Like fell, or it almost sounded like something like moved really quick, like through the bush.
A sudden crash in the bushes freezes them. "Something big moved," one says, his voice filled with a sort of tightness. They stare into the trees, trying to see the source, but the forest has gone unnaturally silent. Whatever is out there, it's massive, fast, and hiding. As one of them jokes that they might be in the creature's territory, no one laughs. The closer they get to the cabin, the stronger the feeling becomes. They are being watched. Inside the broken-down structure, the air feels wrong. And then the cabin itself groans and shifts, as if something or someone moved within it.
I wasn't even recording that, but like...
Do you know any like haunted history behind this place?
Nothing.
Nothing?
No.
Huh. Just that it's a potential Bigfoot spot.
Yeah.
That was definitely something, unless the place is...
A loud metallic sound echoes from the darkened corner of the cabin. It's sudden and powerful, not the sound of wood falling or collapsing, but of something large colliding with metal. They search for their flashlights, calling out, expecting a person, an animal, anything, but there's nothing there. One of them, visibly shaken, says he felt a punch in the back, twice, with no one near him. The fear settles into their bones. This isn't some haunted house prank. Something physical is out there. Later that night, as they sit by the fire under their made-up shelter, the woods return to their normal self. Ticks, distant howls, and soft movement in the brush surround them.
I guess that's the kind of the one positive of living in Ontario is that there's never fire bans.
Really?
I've never seen fire bans in Ontario. It's just like, I'm sure it happens sometimes, but it's rarely a thing.
Yeah.
Some of it could be animals, but some of it couldn't. The laughter comes again, farther away this time, but unmistakable. They speak of Bigfoot as interdimensional, of spiritual energy tied to creatures that can disappear without a trace. It sounds like late-night ranting until another crash from the trees makes them go silent. It's not coyotes, they're not raccoons. It's something bigger, something intelligent, and it's still watching them from the shadows. They made it to the cabin. They set up camp. But they'll leave with more than footage and memories. They'll leave with the uneasy knowledge that somewhere out there, they moved with them. A thick, suffocating silence blankets the woods as the team returns to a familiar but disturbing location, an abandoned mine shaft deep in the Canadian wilderness. This was not their first time here, but this time, something felt different, heavier. They were invited back because locals kept hearing strange whistlings, moans, and inhuman noises echoing through the trees at night, classic signs of Bigfoot activity.
What is that noise? What is that?
Within minutes of arriving, low moans coming from the forest, followed by a hiss that stops everyone in their tracks. "Something just hissed," one of them says, eyes scanning the thick underbrush. And then came a whistle, faint, unnatural, and coming from the mine entrance orange. The team splits up to investigate, and though they joke to keep their spirits high, the nervous energy is clear. They all feel watched.
I just saw something like really big over there. It wasn't even rolling because I'm trying to make sure I don't friggin' fall off the side of this cliff, but something like up there.
While hiking along the edge of a cliff, one of them spots something large and dark moving above. Not a moose, not a bear, but something taller. "That wasn't a bear," he says. "It moved like a person, a huge one." With rumors of Bigfoot sightings in this forest, the group suddenly realizes that they may not be alone. The flies are swarming, the woods seem to pulse with pressure, and the shadows begin to play tricks. Or was that the reality?
Ugh, it's so cold. Why is it so cold in here? Ooh, I have to say, first thing, it kind of smells in here.
That night, they begin alone challenges inside the mine, each member taking turns entering its cold, claustrophobic tunnels alone. Inside, something moves. Ice cracks, rocks fall, and the mine begins to rumble with unsettling energy. "It smells like sulfur," someone says before a deep thump echoes in the darkness. It's not the bats. They've been startled too. Something else is here, something watching, just beyond the beam of their flashlights.
Whoa!
The deeper they go, the worse it gets. A shadow lurks, fast and silent. Then a chorus of bats erupts, spiraling into the air, their panic only deepening the group's fear. One member sees a form standing still at the end of a tunnel, but by the time he blinks, it's gone. "There's something there," he sounds terrified. It wasn't a bat. As they exit the mine, hearts racing, one thing becomes clear.
What do you think that was?
I don't know, bro. Like, I was getting so many different vibes, like paranormal vibes. Like,
Yeah.
like a bear / Bigfoot type of thing. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah, I thought like some sort of animal was going to come out and devour me at some point.
Yeah, because it did sound like an animal. Like,
Yeah.
totally.
Whatever is in these woods doesn't want to be found, but it sure was watching. Whether it's a cryptid, a spirit, or something we can't explain, the team knows this wasn't just an abandoned mine or a creepy hike. They may have walked straight into Bigfoot's territory. Let's take you deep into the heart of Canada's Yukon territory, a vast and untamed wilderness stretching nearly 500,000 square kilometers. Here, the land is ruled not by skyscrapers or traffic, but by ancient forests, snow-dusted mountains, and silence. The few highways that run through this territory are surrounded by sheer isolation. It's a place where nature dominates, and where something else might still be watching. In the Yukon, outdoor life isn't just a hobby, it's a way of being. The people here, Yukoners, grow up wandering the woods, respecting the land, and navigating solitude. But among some locals, especially those who've spent decades in the backcountry, stories begin to surface. Stories not of wolves or bears, but of something far more mysterious. They call it Sasquatch, Bigfoot's northern cousin. On July 12, 2011, a Yukon man named Ed Trish had an encounter that he still can't explain. A seasoned outdoorsman, Ed knows the forest better than most. He knows how animals move. He knows the pace of human footsteps. So when he saw a tall, dark figure walking strangely along the tree line that day, something felt wrong. Ed described the movement as unlike a man's gait, too smooth, too heavy, too deliberate.
Man walks like this, right? He walked like this. And he kept a good pace, you know.
His curiosity kicked in. He drove a little closer and watched. But just as suddenly as it appeared, the figure was gone. No trace, no sound, just trees. He didn't tell friends. He didn't go public.
And I drove up right up front, and I said, I'll wait till he comes around the telephone pole, and he was gone. I was, you know, just sort of looking. I said, what's going on? Never saw him again. Disappeared right there.
He only shared the story with his daughter, Rhonda, who, to her credit, believed him. Years later, as stories like Ed's gained momentum, experts began to take interest. One of them was Red Grossinger, a Canadian military veteran turned researcher. Since 2003, Red has dedicated his life to investigating Sasquatch sightings across Canada. He even published a book, the Sasquatch Research Manual, where he outlines methods, field strategies, and dozens of case studies.
People have told me stories. So since 2003, I've been really digging into the history of Sasquatch.
Red confirmed that the Yukon has a long and credible history of sightings. Locals report large figures moving through brush.
A big, something bigger than a wolf or a dog, or it was like nothing I'd ever heard in my life before.
Others describe haunting vocalizations, long, echoing howls in the dead of night. Some accounts match Trish's exactly, a brief glimpse of something tall and humanoid. So the question remains, what are these people seeing? Skeptics argue it could be misidentified bears or shadows playing tricks on the eyes. But those who've seen it, who've felt the air shift and the silence deepen, aren't so sure. They speak not with hysteria but with calm certainty. They know what a bear looks like, and they know what they saw wasn't one. The Yukon is massive, wild, and largely uncharted. If a creature like Sasquatch were to exist anywhere, this would be the place. And perhaps it already does, quietly slipping between the trees, seen only by those lucky or unlucky enough to catch a glimpse. This time, the hunt begins with a connection to the most iconic Bigfoot encounter in history. In a segment featured by the Travel Channel, investigator Bryce Johnson reaches out to none other than Bob Gimlin, one of the two men behind the legendary 1967 Patterson-Gimlin film, the clearest and most debated Bigfoot footage ever captured. Gimlin, now in his 90s, remains a steadfast figure in the Bigfoot research community, still standing by what he saw that day along Bluff Creek. For decades, skeptics have questioned it, but Bob has never wavered. As Bryce contacts him, the stakes are high. One of the current team members has been hospitalized, forcing the operation to quickly adapt. Bryce asks Bob for help, not just for guidance, but for a replacement. A new set of eyes, experienced and level-headed, to join the mission.
I'm going to reach out to Bob Gimlin.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, Bryce. Mighty nice to see you again.
Likewise. How you doing?
Hey, fine. Thank you.
Good.
How's everything going, Bryce?
I had to rush one of my team members to the hospital last night. I need to find a replacement for him immediately, and I was wondering if you might have anybody in mind.
I can get you some names and get it sent to you as soon as possible.
That'd be great. And these are people you trust?
Yes, sir. Good, trustworthy people.
Meanwhile, back in the field, Mariah and Russell are recalibrating. They're out in the woods, drawing up a new strategy. With recent sightings in the area and the right environmental conditions in place, the team agrees. This could be the perfect night to draw something out of the shadows. They waste no time.
In the time being, while Bryce works to replace RPG.
I really want to investigate that spot where I got that smell from.
This is where RPG and I went. This is where we saw the game trails. Bryce was actually able to load a supposed Bigfoot sound.
Operation begins. Mariah pulls out a speaker and plays one of the team's previously recorded Bigfoot vocalizations, a long, guttural sound believed to mimic a territorial call. It cuts through the trees and echoes across the dark. They hope it'll provoke a reaction, either from curiosity or challenge.
Hear that? Oh my God.
Miles away, Bryce is on the road, headed toward a new interview with a key eyewitness. Brian Zemp, a man who claims to have had a close-range encounter with a creature that defied explanation.
We used to climb all the trees. So we were having fun. All of a sudden, we heard this most guttural, sound where it just projected and you just felt it.
Back in the forest, Mariah and Russell start to notice subtle signs. Not tracks exactly, but disturbed terrain, broken branches, displaced brush, and a faint trail leading off the ridge. They're not convinced yet, but they follow it anyway.
Well, that's interesting.
It's like something.
But quite honestly, I'm not sure what that is.
That's when Russell finds something unusual, a clump of coarse, dark hair. He bags it carefully, labeling it for DNA testing. They've found strange hairs before, but this one feels different. Longer, thicker, and unlike anything native to the area.
My first reaction would be, it's a bobcat. But we're gonna take it. There we go. Some hair right here. This is interesting. I don't know what this is.
The team is now split between direct investigation and ongoing interviews. While Bryce is collecting testimony and expanding their historical context, Mariah and Russell are in real time, pushing deeper into uncertainty. This next segment revisits Donald Mealer's unnerving encounter, but now it's supported by reinforced local testimony from a veteran hunter who also claims to have seen something extraordinary in the Louisiana backwoods. Donald Mealer, as captured by Animal Planet, isn't just anyone. He's a seasoned hunter. On an overcast day, he set up near a long pipeline corridor in rural Louisiana to hunt game as usual. Suddenly, he sensed something, a movement. He quietly lifted his rifle, and through the scope, watched a large, upright creature emerge from the tree line, one he would describe as unlike any man or bear. The creature turned and vanished so quickly Donald couldn't react further. He didn't snap a photo. "I'm not into all that camera stuff," he says, but the memory has stayed vivid since.
That day was kind of cloudy, overcast. Then I just decided to hunt that morning. And then all of a sudden, it just kind of appeared right there by the pipeline marker. I went to try to pick my gun up to look at it through the scope. I mean, he just whirled and went back in the woods and was gone.
Whether you take his word or not, there's supporting testimony from Mike Woolley, another experienced hunter from Keechee, Louisiana. In December 1981, Woolley was in his deer stand when a deer dashed through underbrush. As he looked up, a 7-8-foot-tall, black, hairy humanoid stood at the base of his stand. At first he thought it was a prankster until the creature didn't respond to shouting. Looking through his rifle scope, Woolley realized it wasn't a man in a suit. Woolley's face-to-face encounter lasted only moments, but it was enough.
My name is Mike Woolley. I'm from Keechee, Louisiana. I had an encounter back in December of 1981 with a Bigfoot while deer hunting. It was a beautiful December day, perfect weather for a hunt. And this little young doe deer come running from the east out of some briars and brush that there's no way a human could walk through that. So the first thing hit my mind, it was somebody dressed up in a suit trying to scare me off my good deer hunting spot.
Like Mealer, he refused to sensationalize. He was collecting deer, not cryptids, yet he openly shared the experience. A giant, hair-covered figure coming within shooting range, refusing to answer. His account was raw, calm, and chilling. Their stories share key details: vast, quiet woods, fleeting sightings, instinct rising before vision. Both men are not the type to chase myths, but both walked into something unexplainable. Together, these incidents paint a strong picture: seasoned hunters and everyday people reacting not to bears or shadows, but to something upright, humanoid, and distinctly strange in the Louisiana woods. Donald Mealer may not have a photo. Mike Woolley didn't either. But for men trained to hunt and survive outdoors, sightings like these challenge what we think we know. and hint at something much larger. What we've seen isn't fantasy, it's boots on the ground, eyewitnesses with nothing to gain, equipment that doesn't lie. Whether it's the vanished figure in Yukon, the heatless entity in Utah, or the chilling stare through a hunter's rifle in Louisiana, each moment adds weight to the same question. If this creature isn't real, then why do the signs keep showing up in the same woods, year after year? Because maybe, just maybe, we haven't discovered Bigfoot. Maybe it's Bigfoot that's been watching us all along. If you've had your own experience, drop it in the comments below. And if this footage gave you chills, you're not alone. It was sometime after midnight when things took a strange turn. A team of 3 Bigfoot researchers, working under the DMAX UK banner, were deep in the wilderness, an unmarked forested zone far from urban noise or interference. The night was quiet, almost unnaturally so. Armed with flashlights, camera gear, and night vision support from a command center miles away, the group pressed on, more hopeful than convinced, waiting for even the smallest anomaly to justify the risks of a nocturnal expedition. But then something happened. Something neither of them could quite explain. Both froze. One instinctively lifted the torch toward the slope. The other just muttered under his breath, "Was that walking on 2 legs?"
Okay, just explain what you just saw that we both just saw.
It was
something
a black shadow in my light running from right to left.
And it was on 2 legs.
Seriously, I don't know what that was.
What is happening?
2 of the researchers, Ronnie and Mireya, had stopped near a ridge to assess their route forward. That's when they caught it. A figure. Not in full view, not clearly defined, but there in the peripheral edge of their flashlight's reach. Tall, upright, moving. It wasn't just the movement, it was the way it moved, smooth, silent, deliberate, not crashing through the underbrush like a deer or bear. It moved like it knew they were watching, and it didn't want to be seen. Then the rocks started falling. Not rolling down naturally, thrown. Small stones pinged off nearby trees and landed near their feet, one after another. That changed everything. Now they weren't just looking for something, they were being watched. Their voices remained hushed, but panic had crept in around the edges. They weren't sure what they saw, but they knew they saw something. A shadow, tall and lean, crossing the ridgeline against the backdrop of stars. For a moment they stood silently, straining their ears and eyes in the dark, trying to confirm it.
No, it's further that way. And it went from right to left. Now it's further that way. Let's keep walking and see what happens.
Ronnie and I were shining our light up on the ridge because of the rocks coming down, and very clearly something walked in front of that light, creating a shadow.
The 2 immediately called in the sighting to the command center. Their voices were urgent, but not exaggerated. This wasn't theater. It was raw reaction, genuine confusion, possibly fear. They described the figure, the movement, the stone throwing. But when asked for more specifics, neither could fully articulate what they'd witnessed, because they didn't know.
Hello?
Hey, Bryce, it's me and Ronnie here.
Hey, guys.
Hey, man.
It's really late. What's going on?
We have come out to a spot where we're getting an unusual amount of activity.
We just had some crazy stuff happen to us.
What happened?
I saw a huge figure by the top of this ravine where all these rocks were being thrown at us.
Later that night, back at camp, Mireya lay restless. Even hours after the incident, something still didn't sit right. She swore she could still hear faint movement just beyond the tree line. Crunches in the leaves. Subtle. Paced. As if whatever had been out there hadn't gone far.
We just experienced something so bizarre. And I've been debating whether or not to do this video diary because I'm so conflicted. I know what I saw, and there's a part of me that doesn't know how to explain it.
The next morning, they returned to the ridge. The air was colder now. The adrenaline of the previous night had worn off, leaving behind a lingering sense of doubt. Were their minds playing tricks on them? Was it just shadow and wind? Or had they actually seen something real? They scanned the terrain above the slope, trying to retrace the moment. No clear footprints, no broken branches, nothing definitive. But something about the location still felt charged. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was expectant.
I don't know about you, but I've been like tripping out over that shadow figure. I'm still scratching my head on that.
Ronnie and Maria are headed to the ridge above where they spotted a mysterious shadow just hours ago.
It's pretty strange.
But first, they've planned a rendezvous with Bryce.
That's when Bryce arrived. While the others were out in the field, Bryce had been working behind the scenes, analyzing the raw footage taken during the encounter. He'd used basic editing software to enhance contrast, slow movement, and adjust the shadows. And what he brought to the team was hard to dismiss. The original clip was replayed, and as expected, it was hard to make out. But then, frame by frame, Bryce rolled through the enhanced version. Its motion was smooth, unhurried, and, most disturbingly, it seemed to blend into the surroundings almost as it passed.
An outline.
Right.
But we don't really know what was causing that shadow. I mean, there was nothing between us and that rock wall
But
except
I believe
the river.
there was.
What do you think then?
Bigfoot have, and this goes back to Native American lore, they have this ability referred to in the researching world as cloaking, or the ability to go invisible.
Bryce had a theory, and it wasn't new. A year earlier, he had met with physicist Dr. Michael Masters, a man who didn't laugh off the idea of cloaking or invisibility as myth. According to Dr. Masters, nature is filled with animals that camouflage. The idea that a higher-order species, especially one evolved to avoid human detection, could have a form of cloaking, whether biological or environmental, wasn't out of the question. Could it be optical camouflage, thermal redirection, or something even more advanced that we simply don't understand?
Turns out invisibility we actually know how to do, right? If we can figure out how to make it in the lab, it's not unreasonable to assume that biology could have figured it out through evolution.
That would make sense if you had a Bigfoot that was in front of us cloaking. We couldn't visually see it with our own eyes.
The team didn't jump to conclusions, but they also couldn't dismiss what they saw. The footage wasn't conclusive, no, but it was strange. Stranger than any bear sighting. Stranger than any trick of the light. What rattled them wasn't just what they might have seen, but how easily it slipped away. To this day, the clip remains one of the most hotly debated moments in Bigfoot investigation circles. Some insist it's just a shadow, a coincidence of lighting and movement. Others see it as possible evidence that these creatures have abilities well beyond what we've assumed. Whether it was trickery of light or a glimpse into something truly beyond explanation, one thing is certain. The wilderness held its secret, and it wasn't ready to let it go.
I'll check back in with you
Thank
guys
you.
later on.
Thanks.
Nice work. All right.
I am now more confused than maybe before, but relieved that what we saw is now on video.
That's incredible.
This footage is shocking. I really thought this was going to give me the answers I was looking for. And now, even after seeing that footage, I'm no closer to understanding what made that shadow. And that doesn't sit.
It was just another quiet evening in rural South Carolina. For Chris Cahill, a local resident with no interest in legends or folklore, it was meant to be a routine drive, nothing more. This moment comes to us courtesy of Animal Planet during a Bigfoot field investigation series. The team had arrived in South Carolina to meet Chris, not to run night vision tests or launch a search party, but simply to hear his story, a first-hand account that would send chills down anyone's spine. But something changed that day. Something Chris would never forget. As he pulled into a familiar roadside area to drop off some mail, he noticed something unusual, something that froze him in place and challenged every assumption he held about the world around him.
Yes, ma'am. This is where it was. Basically what happened, I pulled up in my vehicle and I put the paper in a tube. And something caught the side of my eye over here, shape.
Chris begins his recollection calmly. He describes how he was driving up to a mailbox along a wooded stretch of road. Nothing out of the ordinary. He parked his car, slipped the letter into the box. That's when something caught his attention in the brush. He drove his vehicle forward a few feet to face what he heard, his curiosity leading him to the beast. At first, it was just a feeling, an awareness. Something was there, just beyond the trees. He adjusted his gaze, and then he saw it. A large, upright figure standing at the edge of the woods, staring back at him. It was big, Chris said. Tall, massive, and then I saw the eyes.
I pulled in a little bit more so I could face it. This figure was walking along that tree line right there. Turned around and it looked at me, and I saw these big red eyes. It was big. Looked at each other for seconds, and then I got really scared and I drove off.
He describes them with remarkable clarity. Not just bright, but glowing, red, unmistakably red. He blinked. Once. It just stood there, staring back for a few seconds. Chris froze, his mind scrambling for a rational explanation. Could it be a person? A bear? But nothing matched the size or the posture. This thing was standing tall, on two legs. It wasn't hunched. It wasn't running. It was just there. Frightened, he put the car in reverse and backed away from the tree line. His eyes locked on the creature the entire time. As he pulled off, the figure remained still, watching, until it finally stepped backward into the woods, swallowed by the fading light.
So you first catch a glimpse of it, and you're not quite sure what you're seeing, and then you turn your car in, and especially that second time, you've got the lights on it. Can you describe just everything that you saw?
The Animal Planet crew listened to his story with quiet attention. There were no dramatic reenactments, no speculative analysis, just the weight of Chris's words, spoken plainly without embellishment. He wasn't trying to convince anyone. He was just telling the truth as he lived it. What makes this encounter even more eerie is its mundane setting. Chris wasn't out hiking in remote forests. He wasn't hunting or filming. He was doing something we all do, running a simple errand. That's what makes it stick. And yet, this story lines up with dozens of similar Bigfoot accounts across the United States. The towering figure, the upright posture.
Because it was kind of like hair in it, but the eyes, I mean, they just came up through the amount of hair I saw. They were real bright, and they were about, I mean, from that distance, they kind of looked about like this. I mean, they were big.
And above all, the glowing red eyes. And if you thought the glowing red eyes were unsettling, consider this next encounter from 1978. Sergeant Edwin Godoy, a U.S. Army soldier at Fort Lewis, came face to face with a towering, hair-covered figure some 300 meters away, illuminated only by its own red eyes. He fired at least one shot, heard an inhuman moan, and by dawn found footprints and greenish fluid at the scene. Godoy was medically examined, and the incident was officially documented, before being sealed under military review. His testimony remains one of the most credible, chilling accounts of a red-eyed Bigfoot. Maybe you came into this video skeptical, expecting blurry footage and overhyped stories. But what you've just witnessed is something else. A researcher tracking a blood trail to an upright figure that limps away. A ridge encounter that ends with stones being thrown from the darkness. A police officer frozen in place, staring down glowing red eyes. And a soldier who didn't just see something, he shot it. Each of these moments stands on its own. But together, they form a pattern, a chilling reminder that something is moving through our forests. And it's not just myth or legend, It's documented, repeated, consistent. We may never catch it in a lab or explain it with science, but we can't keep pretending it isn't there, because the people who've seen it never forget it. So the next time you're driving down a dark road or standing at the edge of the woods, ask yourself, what if you're not alone? From strange noises and shadowy figures to something physically touching one of the witnesses, this feels different, real. Whatever it was, it didn't want to be seen, but it made sure they knew it was there. We showed you what we could. You decide what it was. Was it Bigfoot, a ghost, or something our minds just can't comprehend? Let us know in the comments. Hit like if this gave you chills, and subscribe for more real, raw encounters from deep in the woods.